in planning a career in data analytics or data science, you made a splash recently in social media through doubling your salary in 11 months. Do you want to fill us in on how our listeners can do that themselves?
Absolutely. And we got to get the facts straight. I over doubled it in an 11 month time period.
Okay.
But who's counting? Just kidding. Yeah. So I did have an 11-month time period right before I started my role at Crunchbase about 2 years ago, where I did over double my salary. And to kind of walk you through all those steps, I was currently working as a senior data analyst at a smaller fintech startup. And then from there, I negotiated an internal raise. So I basically went to my manager in HR and I was like, I have a direct report. I'm doing all of this work. I'm leading all of these projects. I'm supporting the data for our capital raise. And I'm making $72,000 a year. Like, I should probably be making a little bit more money for all the responsibilities I'm having. So I really built up that case of all of my accomplishments and responsibilities. I analyzed the market data and I showed that senior analysts were making about six figures. So I went back to them with all of that research and advocated for myself, and I was able to increase my salary to 95,000, which at the time, I mean, an over 30% raise from an internal negotiation. I was stoked. Like, I'm so proud of past Jess for doing that. And then from there, I knew I needed to go somewhere else to continue learning. I wasn't really growing in my role anymore. And this is like 6 months later or so. So from there, I was on the job market. I just held my cards really close to my chest. I did not say any numbers in interviews. You will not get a number out of me ever in an interview.
And
So
that's a key negotiation tactic in anything, whether you're negotiating your salary or any kind of deal where money's involved. It's like negotiations 101. So probably a lot of our listeners are already aware of this, but you should never give, your number, like what is your, what's your salary expectation, that kind of thing, or what kind of salary are you on? Sorry, I interrupted you, Jess, but
no, you're good. And I've heard too, whoever speaks first loses. That's what I've always heard about negotiation. And it's really easy to be nervous in an interview and just blurt something out. But I think just recognizing this is a very uncomfortable conversation. It's the worst part of any interview. And just sit in that uncomfortableness and just be okay with it being kind of awkward and like, dodging the question. Like, but that's what you really have to do to get those increases and make sure you advocate for yourself. Because when I first entered the job market again with my 95,000 salary, I was getting interviews for roles ranging from, 100K all the way up to like 135, 140. And I'm like, I'm getting interviews for these roles. I would have been excited to even just get 110, 120, which was a big increase from where I was. But I just, kept my lips tight, didn't say any numbers. I let them give me their budget and flip the question back on them every time. And then at the end, I negotiated an offer up to 150, which I declined to go to Freddie Mac for less money. And then, I quit in 4 months. It was not a great place for me to work, terrible fit. But I did end up getting an offer for 150, which was well above where I was a few months prior. And then from there, leaving Freddie Mac after 4 months, I came to Crunchbase making over 150. And I'm going to be vague about my current salary only because I don't want to ruin my future negotiations.
Sure. And I actually really appreciate you being so candid about the numbers on air. I mean, it's great that you are
I'm super open.
keeping the current one close to your chest.